During the WNBA this season, I feel like we sort of had one of those particular growing pains where it's like some of the people that are coming in and watching the sport and are fans of the sport feel like maybe they're there for a weird reason. And now they've found sort of maybe one player to hyper fixate on that they feel stands at odds with what a WNBA player is in their minds. And they passionately love that player in a way that actually just feels like it's hate being disguised as love that they want to have against the rest of the league. And we sort of had this moment where the rest of the fans had to go like, you paid the same money for your ticket and you being here is also helpful to the sport. And that's a really difficult thing to do. They had no sort of reverence for the fact that like, buddy, this conversation's been going on without you for years and years and years. And now you come in here and just think that you can, because you love this one player.
Sue Bird has just revealed her true intentions. And honestly, it's quite embarrassing. Her latest podcast episode made one thing perfectly clear. She's shaping Team USA around Paige Bueckers while pushing Caitlin Clark to the sidelines. The title says it outright. The graphics back it up, and the entire conversation confirms it, especially when a league's biggest star is systematically erased from your content. This isn't an accident. It's a deliberate choice. And now, that choice is spectacularly backfiring. So here's the question. How long can you ignore the person who essentially saved your league before everyone finally notices?
Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe, and the guest was Katie Nolan, and they were talking about the growing pains in the WNBA. And they decided to put out this clip on their Twitter to promote their new episode with Katie Nolan. So this was a choice for the podcast to use that clip to promote their episode. This is not like someone was clipping it out and it went viral. And I actually went to the main episode to kind of watch that clip in its entirety because I just wanted to make sure that nothing was taken out of context. And to be totally honest with you guys, watching the whole clip made the clip that they put on social media that much.
Let's break down what just happened on the Sue Bird podcast, because this situation has officially gone from questionable to completely ridiculous. The episode dropped with a title that says it all. Team USA 2028 forecast Paige Bueckers and the young stars on the rise. Not Caitlin Clark. Not the future of USA basketball. Not even the next generation gets proper recognition. Nope. Paige Bueckers is a name in lights, while everyone else is just bundled together as young stars. Really subtle, right?
During the WNBA this season, I feel like we sort of had one of those particular growing pains where it's like some of the people that are coming in and watching the sport and are fans of the sport feel like maybe they're there for a weird reason. And now they've found sort of maybe one player to hyper fixate on that they feel stands at odds with what a WNBA player is in their minds. And they passionately love that player in a way that actually just feels like it's hate being disguised as love that they want to have against the rest of the league. And we sort of had this moment where the rest of the fans had to go like, you paid the same money for your ticket and you being here is also helpful to the sport. And that's a really difficult thing to do. They had no sort of reverence for the fact that like, buddy, this conversation's been going on without you for years and years and years. And now you come in here and just think that you can, because you love this one player and this one player is very good. She's very, very good. And like, I would love to just openly love them. Those are the types of moments that as a women's sports fan, I like really bristle against, where I'm just like, I hate that we have to go through this, but we do have to go through this. This is the growth period.
But it gets even more absurd when you actually watch the episode. They display a graphic comparing the young interns versus the OG scrimmage, highlighting which players are featured as the rising stars. Paige Bueckers, Jackie Young, and Angel Reese are all there. Notice anyone missing? Because it's glaringly obvious. Caitlin Clark, the player who single-handedly transformed WNBA attendance, shattered viewership records, and made casual sports fans care about women's basketball, somehow didn't make the cut in this visual representation of young talent. This is an oversight. It's a deliberate erasure.
For a large group of people, mostly that exist online, it wasn't enough, like, love a player, love Caitlin, love whoever you want to love. But it was simultaneously, they had to then say that every player that ever came before was...
Throughout the entire podcast episode, Sue Bird can't stop gushing about Paige, the young intern she keeps referring to, with Paige seemingly positioning herself as the self-appointed leader of the group. Sue talks about how cute it is, how competitive they were in scrimmages, and how much they wanted to break ties. Now, don't get me wrong. Paige Buckers is talented as potential and seems like a decent person. But here's the reality check no one wants to hear. Paige had the third lowest attendance numbers for home games in the entire league last season. You can't manufacture star power or force fans to care. The people decide with their wallets and attention. Right now, they're not exactly rushing to watch Paige play. Sue Bird is out here trying to make Paige Buckers happen like she's in some basketball version of Mean Girls. Stop trying to make fetch happen. Sue, it's not going to happen. The fans have already spoken. They've already decided who they want to see. When Caitlin Clark plays, arenas sell out. When her game's there, viewership numbers spike. Even when she's not playing, people still tune in to watch her team because they're invested in her journey. That's organic star power. That's real impact. Yet, the WNBA establishment seems determined to force-feed their preferred narrative instead of acknowledging reality. It's like walking into a restaurant where 45 out of 50 tables order tacos, and the manager is desperately trying to convince you that the cheeseburger is the best item on the menu. The numbers don't lie. The people want tacos.
Tables ordered tacos, and the manager is desperately trying to convince you that the cheeseburger is actually the best thing on the menu. Sir, the numbers don't lie. The people have spoken, and they want tacos.
You called sports fandom a complex experience. I loved that so much. Do say more about that. What feels misunderstood or oversimplified or uncovered?
Yeah, I think like there's so many aspects of this that we could focus on. Like one of them is sports hate. Sports hate is so unique, I think. And it's also, I feel like, healthy in a world that's full of a lot of hate that's very unhealthy and very bad. I think in general, hate I try to shy away from, but you've got, we're humans, so you have to have all range of emotional experiences. And I think one of the safest places to put your hate is like, dude, I hate the fucking Yankees. I hate them so much. I hate them so much that while I'm doing my job and I meet a Yankee, I'm like, no, I don't want to know you. I absolutely hate you. It's based in nothing. If anything were to happen to that person, I wouldn't want them to suffer. But you're just like, it's safe hate is sports hate.
But if they got traded to the Red Sox, you'd be like, I love you. I love them.
I'd go, give me a second. I'd go, I don't know, give me a second. But I also feel like in terms of, look, sports fans are men, women, non-binary. Anybody can be a sports fan. I think a lot of sports media caters to a specific male audience. And I also feel like that's a male audience that has not been told that their feelings are something that they can experience. And so I think a lot of the time, men don't even realize how much of an emotional experience being a sports fan is. And so that's kind of part of my thing, is I just want them to feel like, hey, the way that sports make you feel, we can talk through that. So it's just such a weird experience that people who don't love sports don't understand, but that I want to kind of pick apart.
Now let's rewind a bit, because this isn't Sue Bird's first rodeo.
Because this isn't Sue Bird's.
Just days before a Paige Buckers focused episode, Sue Bird allowed guests on her podcast to completely trash Caitlin Clark's fan base. They painted her supporters as toxic and negative, supposedly watching for weird reasons, while Sue and Megan Rapinoe just smiled, offering no pushback or a single word about not generalizing millions of fans. That moment is infuriating because both Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe have built their brands on championing women's sports, growing the game and attracting new fans. Yet when millions of new fans actually show up, suddenly they're deemed insufficient or there for the wrong reasons. The guests claim that fans fixated on Caitlin Clark are motivated by weird reasons, because she supposedly doesn't fit the mold of a typical WNBA player. But Caitlin Clark is exactly what the league needs: talented, hardworking, marketable, and genuinely exciting. Her popularity is a problem for some, because it disrupts a narrow, predefined narrative of who a WNBA fan should be. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. Caitlin gets blamed for everything negative: toxic fans, rough physical play, unbalanced media coverage. Yet when it comes to record-breaking attendance, sold-out arenas, and massive TV deals, she gets no credit. Before Caitlin entered the league, most teams outside the Aces and Liberties struggled to draw 3,000 fans, with minimal TV coverage and little cultural relevance. Then Caitlin arrived, and suddenly Google searches for WNBA content skyrocketed tenfold. Arenas sold out. Networks bid for rights. Merchandise flew off shelves, and the league's visibility exploded. Yet the podcast guests argued that fans were only watching due to political divisions, and that now real fans remain while fake fans have left, an argument completely contradicted by the continued rise in viewership, attendance, and engagement. The guests even claimed that fans hyper-focused on Caitlyn were expressing hate, disguised as love, a notion that defies logic. Millions of fans buying jerseys, attending games, following her career, and supporting sponsors are clearly passionate, not secretly hateful. Larger fan bases naturally make toxic subsets more visible, but that doesn't diminish the genuine support. Sue Bird's podcast not only amplified this biased narrative, but conveniently ignored her own role in shaping Team USA rosters, using her platform to marginalize Caitlyn, while highlighting Paige Bueckers repeatedly and erasing Caitlyn from graphics and discussions. Despite Caitlyn's professionalism and dedication, giving time during All-Star Weekend and fully participating in the USA basketball program, Sue allowed her impact and her fans to be framed as a problem. Caitlyn disrupted the established order of the league. Traditionally, WNBA rookies, especially guards, were expected to wait their turn, learn from veterans, and gradually earn playing time. Caitlyn defied that by immediately becoming one of the league's top guards, earning fans' adoration and attention. That success threatened some within the WNBA establishment, including Sue Bird, who spent her career building the league's foundation. Instead of celebrating that Caitlyn elevated the sport, they treat her as a threat, as if her rise diminishes their legacy, which it absolutely doesn't. The irony is that Sue Bird is doing this on a platform whose relevance exists because of Caitlyn's growth of the league. While efforts are made to force Paige Bueckers into the spotlight, Caitlin Clark, the league's biggest star, is being systematically erased from the conversation. This isn't just unprofessional, it's personal, and the evidence is everywhere.